And welcome everyone to the show. Go ahead and introduce yourself, say your name.
I'm Andy Dohmen. I'm the studio director for the Tampa studio for Mancini Duffy.
Formerly
Design Styles Architecture. So I used to be the CEO of the company and founder.
Awesome.
And I'm Christian Giordano. I am the president and one of the owners as well of Mancini Duffy. So we're a firm based out of New York City. And we just recently acquired Andy's firm, Design Styles Architecture. So we're happy to be here in Tampa.
Well, congratulations to you both. You both sound like it was kind of a match made there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
We're super excited.
Amazing. And Andy, you're still on board, of course.
I'm still. I joke around. I'm scaring my employees. I told them I got a new transmission. I changed it out from a 5-speed to a 10-speed. So
you still got the old doors and windows on the thing. You know what I mean? Just maybe the internal components are upgraded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy's not allowed to retire.
Okay.
That's simple as that.
That's a part of the deal.
Yeah, it's part of the deal. Yeah.
You were saying you'd kick me to tell me what you paid for your office. Because we're talking Tampa Heights, right? Riverside Heights, north of downtown's exploded. Ebor's going crazy, the whole thing.
So our office is right next door to the J.C. Newman factory. So it was probably 15 years ago. I bought this building. They had it on. It was for sale for $100,000. And it was a building and 3 lots. It had been on a fire. Had a fire. Had termites. I always joke around and say it was an all-you-can-eat buffet with termites.
I know.
And 1708, right next to the J.C. Newman. Yeah, there's a cigar factory.
East side, right?
Yep, and then my building is right there to the right. There you go.
With the parking lot.
So this thing was for sale for $100,000.
$100,000 from the building, plus there's 2 lots to the right. So for the guy was asking $100,000 for the building, 1 lot to the right, and then it was all dirt to the left. So I told him, hey, this thing's been in a fire, it's had termite damage. I'll tell you what, I'll give you 75. So I ended up buying the building for 75, got a historical grant to renovate the building, and then did the parking lot and pavers because trying to make it look historical and trying to get it done for, it's kind of like a design on a dime. But we've renovated the building, and if you did it correctly and the city approved, you don't pay taxes on the improvements. So I bought the building for 75. It's on the tax rolls, I think, for $60,000 or something like that. So I think this is the last year, and then after that it goes up to regular value. For the first 10 years, I'm paying taxes on a $75,000 or $65,000 property. The building to the right, if you look to the right, keep going to the right, that building there, that greenhouse to the left, the city moved that. That was actually the last house to be moved from the expansion for the I-4 when they cut I-4 through.
Yeah.
So DOT and the city made an arrangement and identified a bunch of historical houses that they want to retain. So that was the last house that got moved. It was literally about a mile away. The city moved it through neighborhoods. They didn't even drive down the street. They were cutting through yards and everything.
God.
Yeah, because the building was so tall because of the power lines. So they moved that building in front of there. And then Ron and Dennis Fernandez were hit because our building is a historical building. It's like the first LEED certified historical building in the city of Tampa.
Wow.
And that building's 100 years old. The house across
beautiful.
the street's 100 years old. Ron and Dennis asked me, hey, you're going to buy that house? I'm like, I'm not in the market for the house. This is like, we're just rolling up this is just before COVID. We're busting out of the seams. I had designed a building to put next to the empty land. And my partner goes, that was going to be like $500,000, $600,000. He said, hey, that house across the street, maybe we can pick that up for a reasonable price. So talked to Ron and Dennis. He goes, it's not the highest offer, it's the best offer. So we put an RFP together to use at our design center. I bought the house for $25,000.
Oh my!
I got a $130,000 grant for historical stuff to renovate it. That house, if you had to fix the siding, you take a piece of siding out, you put a piece of siding in. You don't wholesale it. The brackets and stuff, some of them were rotted. Have to have brackets made to match. I had all the windows. I was going to put impact window. I was going to put new windows in. They're like, well, the windows have got to be impact, and if it's an historical house in the city of Tampa, the windows have to be unclad. And I'm like, I'm not going to put brand new unclad windows that are impact rated in a house that's 100 years old and there ain't nothing hurricane rated about it. So I ended up taking the windows out, spent like $70,000 taking the windows out, had them stripped down to wood, all the glass taken out, reprimed, painted, all the glass put back, new ropes, pulleys, the whole 9 yards, and put back in. But the intent of it is people walk in, there's like pocket doors that are hidden in the walls, exposed them. So people go in and they see it and the ooh and on because it's a really nice 100-year-old house. It was actually a city commissioner's house back in 1920.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so
Wow.
it's a really nice house, got like 10-foot-8 ceilings. We took it all apart, took all the plaster off, it was all cracked to hell. Put everything back, fixed all the framing, put all the coffered ceilings back, put all the molding back, found doors to match. Well, I had found new doors that matched the old ones, so put all new brand new doors, all brand new glass hardware, the knobs, all the way down to the T. So I was trying to really be as much of a purist as we could to make it look like it did, like it might look in 1920.
Wow. So although you paid 25 grand, it's a heavy lift to try to get it, put back to the way it once was.
$450 remodeling it.
Wow. On
So
a
it's
little old house.
Yeah.
Man. Now,
But
where did you find stuff like the small little glass knobs? They still make stuff like that?
It turned out that Schlage made the same glass knob.
Wow.
So at first I was going to find more glass knobs, more doors to match the old doors. I couldn't find enough. So Geldwin happened to make a door panel that matched the doors that were there. So I put all brand new doors. Schlage happened to make a glass door knob that happened to be almost identical to the original ones. So went with all brand new, but they match what was there.
Wow, this thing is like a time capsule.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
We
pretty
put
cool.
both buildings on historical tours.
Wow. And so you use it today for your...
We call it our design center. So the kitchen, dining, and living room we used as meeting spaces. 2 of the bedrooms. It's fully done as a house. It's got the stove in it, washer, dryers, the whole 9 yards. But the living, dining, kitchen is meeting spaces. 2 of the bedrooms are offices, and then there's another room that we use as our material selection.
Very, very cool.
use it as
Kudos to
meeting
you.
spaces
That's
and
awesome.
stuff.
I
Yeah.
see a little city plaque too on the side, a little designation. That's awesome. And Christian, were you always... Tampa has exploded. I mean, it's been on the up and up for quite a while, but especially since that time period, 18, 19, things were cranking. COVID just was like rocket fuel to this market. And so much has changed, and our growth is just so undeniable at this point.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your radar, right, for the Tampa market at that time, like 2010 to 2019. Were you doing projects here locally?
So we weren't doing projects in Tampa. We were doing them more in other areas of Florida, more like South Florida, some restaurants down there in Miami, and that area has changed as well. And I think what attracted us mostly to this area, aside the fact that obviously when we met, Andy and his team, was looking at the incredible growth that you've all had. My sister-in-law actually moved down here a number of years ago and started her own business, doing some stuff with a law technology that she's doing, sort of a tech startup. And what she always said is Tampa is very welcoming to people coming from other areas, and that, it's booming. You really should consider this. Why consider other parts of Florida when Tampa's kind of got everything that you're looking for, as opposed to some of the other areas that are very saturated and also, kind of flux so much with the different market conditions, right? And so knowing that, we set our sights on, well, maybe there's something in Tampa that we can look at. And as Andy said, we have someone that does some recruiting for us, also always looking to kind of help us grow our business. And he found Andy and Jason. But at the end of the day, our goal has always been to, we're a larger firm. I don't want to say we're a large firm because it's, we're not thousands of people. We're now with DSA, we're 135 people, I would say. The goal has always been to take our show on the road, right? We're really good at what we do in New York. But we always found that when we actually did projects in other states and in other cities, that they seemed to go as well, if not better, than a lot of the projects that we did in New York. And one of those we could talk about at some point is we have a technology that we invented that is a patented piece of software. And I think that really plays well in a lot of other markets, and we can show what we can do. And it just made sense to continue to grow the firm, but not in just the New York, New Jersey area, right? Like we wanted to be out and around the United States and follow our clients around.
And that technology, is it a management technology for your clients? And
No, it's actually a visual technology. So architects work in a program, or most architects work in a program called Revit, which is a 3D, essentially database, right? A wall knows it's a wall rather than, architects used to draw obviously by hand, ultimately in CAD. CAD is really just a representation of hand drawing, right? It's a line. It just knows it's a line. It doesn't have any properties. Revit has properties built in. So it knows it's a window. It knows it's a door. It knows it's a floor. It knows what level it's on, things like that. So by harnessing the power of that database, we're able to take that 3D model and push it, actually reduce what's called the polygon count in the model, and push it into a VR and AR engine.
Wow.
And it's a seamless transition. So it happens instantaneously. So as a designer is working in Revit, the VR AR model is up and running, and it's part of it's part of the experience. So a chef can come in and work their kitchen virtually, and we can design it right there with them, right? A residential building, we can move the units around dynamically. If it's an office space, we can, pack a bunch of offices in or pack a bunch of desks in, whatever it might be, and really get from zero to a pretty darn polished direction, I would say. Not a project, but a direction where the client feels comfortable, the designers feel comfortable, and now we can kind of continue on with the project. Decision making is the hardest thing in architecture.
And a lot comes with that, right? There's a budget involved. I'm sure there's timelines. I guess anything is possible with a big enough budget, right? But that's typically not how it works. You have to.
There's always a budget. I don't know if you, but I've never worked on a project without a budget.
Although I had a client that I didn't think had a budget, and we spent $400,000 on his stairs.
$400,000 on
stairs. It was all glass.
Was this a residential property?
It's a residential property. Wow. We wanted an award-winning house. We designed it, entered it in a competition, took third place in the country or something like that as an unbuilt design. Finished it, entered it again when it was done, won an award. But designed this 3-story stairs that was steel and glass. I mean, the treads were glass. The landings were glass. Had an elevator. So we were playing around, and we did. Some of the glass was frosted. Some of it was clear.
Oh, interesting.
So when you get out of the elevator, we purposely made you step on a clear piece of glass to play with the mind.
Yeah.
But I thought it was going to kill me because it was a $400,000 stair. Well, the builder went and valued, engineered it down, got it down to $350,000. But he said, "Okay, great, let's do it." And I'm like, "Okay,
it's pretty good."
Yeah. So
that's
the only guy I ever had that I was like, "Okay, maybe he doesn't have a budget."
So this technology has enabled you, you're saying, to work in these different markets, but keep kind of that consistency in the way you're delivering expectations to your customer?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the designers work in this, right? They're working like they normally would work, and then this is ported into the system, and the client can see it. So as we kind of take that show around the United States and really show clients what we can do, they realize, oh, this is better than the traditional method of almost like waiting till it's finished to realize, do I like this? Does it flow well? That kind of thing.
Well, you've been in architecture, you said, since the early 90s or so. And Christian, how long have you been in this work?
So I've been in this for 25 years or so, 26 years. Yeah.
How was it done back in the day? Literally just drawings of...
Drawings, and remember the old days when people built the models, the physical models and stuff?
That's all you kind of had.
Watercolors.
Yeah. So back then, your customers would... there was a sense of like, okay, I feel like this is kind of what we're looking for. Let's proceed. Whereas now you can like basically kind of show them
through the building,
literally walk them through them.
Yeah. And the technologies, I've even had builders where the light bulb goes off when you show them in 3D, and then they're realizing, oh, I didn't realize that detail turned the corner, or whatever it is, because now they're seeing it in 3D. So it's an excellent way of communicating with clients, builders, trades. So now the drawings are now drawn. Everything's done in 3D. So they're drawing the whole building in 3D. All the engineering, the duct work, the steel beams, whatever it is, it's all done in 3D. So you're building the building in a 3-dimensional model to make sure it works before it goes out in the street and you start building it.
Does it help too with fire code? Different local municipalities have different little things that they require. I know fire code's state level stuff usually?
The technology's advancing so rapidly, like with the AI stuff. There's actually software that's on the market now that's being worked on. It's in test mode right now, where you'll run your model through the software, and it'll tell you if you have any deficiencies in the code.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is too sharp of an angle, or
You don't need you need a firewall here, or you need more doors for egress, whatever. It's looking at big picture things like that to make sure the solution you're providing meets all the codes.
do you think there's a scenario where you need less staff in the future to accomplish some of these needs? I mean, it's a sensitive conversation, of course, but it sounds like the technology is.
I'll let you go first.
It's different, right? I heard a quote of, AI is not going to take your job, but someone who knows AI is going to take your job, which I think is actually very valid. So when you look at what we're doing with AI on the design side, that's separate from the technology that we developed. It's really sort of it exists, right? It's third-party software. We're using it to create images, to do inspiration images, where we used to go on Google or on Shutterfly and look for things that had red chairs in them, or kitchen counters that looked like this. We can now create that right in AI. Hey, I need a countertop that has this kind of veining, that has this kind of seats, that has lights above it, really descriptive way. We'll actually use AI, which I thought is a great way that they're doing it in the office, is they will put an image into AI, and then they will say, hey, AI, describe this back to me. And then we'll take that description and start to tweak it and create a new image, which is a really interesting way of doing it. So you can create iteration after iteration and really hone in on a design idea, and then maybe show a client, 5 different versions of it that, whether you thought of them or not, but they sort of inspired something different and takes you down a different road. And then eventually you've got to bring it back. You need the human element. Someone's got to edit all this. The worst thing you could do is show up at a client meeting with 400 different options and say, hey, AI created this. Which one do you like?
Right. Right.
But the question is, like, we're using it, we'll run it through like a render machine, and it'll generate some iterations of these designs, and it's used as a design tool. So it's not like it's going to take your job away. It's also, it makes your job a little bit easier because you'll run it through a piece of software, AI-driven software. You'll see some moves on the render. You might see an element like, I think I kind of like that look. And then because it builds all these different options for you, you can then pick and choose, I like this thing, and it helps you actually develop a better refined design.
So it's a tool, really.
It's more of
the
a
way
tool.
you look
Absolutely.
at it.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that it's going to do the job for you. It's really not going to do the job for you.
Yeah. I mean, maybe one day, but I think we're a long way away from that.
No,
So-
and
It messes up a lot too.
to your point, Christian, though, teaching your employees, right, your staff, to use it in an effective way, use
Yeah.
it as a tool.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
That seems like the way to win, at least in the short term. If it takes all of our jobs, I don't know. Maybe we're all screwed, but
It'll never take your job away.
no, probably not. Unless we start getting into these robots with these, what are these Tesla robots, then we might be in trouble.
We'll see.
Someone's got to build a robot too.
That's true. That's very true. So talk to me about some exciting projects you guys have here locally, some significant things you're working on.
In the resi world, it's been some of the things we're doing is the affordable missing middle thing. I'm currently working with a large production builder. We're working with them developing product on the affordable side, to where it sounds nuts, but you're trying to buy a house for under $500,000 in the Tampa Bay market. It's kind of comical. And so we've been working with a large builder. I don't want to say their name, but well known in the Tampa Bay area. We've been working with them for over 20 years, and we're working with them designing product that, like, rooms are not wider than the roll of a carpet. There's only so many size windows. So we're trying to drive all the SKUs or whatever is involved in a house to try and make it as simple as possible so that we can drive the cost down. Some of these guys are buying down interest rates to the tune of 10, 15 grand a house to drive the interest rates down to sell the home. So instead of getting in the market of continuing to buy down interest rates, they'd rather drive down the construction price to get, again, more of affordable product. And then on the flip side, 5 years ago, I started designing spec homes for people that were going to be on the market for like $10 million. And I'm like, who the hell is going to buy a $10 million house in Tampa?
Yeah.
Nowadays, they're like a dime a dozen. And I've got 2 of them that are in the ground that are 7,000 square foot houses on the market for sale for $12 million spec homes. And what happens is, I realize is the people that are coming from New York or whatever, they're coming down to Florida. They're going to buy a $10 to $20 million property, and they're just trying to find who's got the coolest house on the market.
Yeah.
And they'll go on like Jennifer Sales or somebody's website to find out who's got a cool house. And then those are the houses. So I told the guys when we were designing these spec homes, it's kind of like a design competition. So it's like you're designing a house that someone looks at and they go, that's a cool ass house. And then they're willing, and they're going to go look at that. So that's, we're doing the super high end homes, so it's spec homes. The commercial side, we're doing a lot of solutions for like the apartment complex you were talking about on North Boulevard. Again, that's a lot of the for rent product is still humming along. So we're doing a lot of that work. We've been working at the University of Tampa. So I just finished a chiller plant on the corner of Cass and University. That's actually a chiller plant, looks like a classroom. But the idea,
it's got the brick walls, right? We drove by that today.
Yeah, it's all glass and brick, right on the corner of Cass.
South of the railroad, right? On the right side,
right by the baseball track. Nope,
yeah.
Go to the north. To the north. Nope, to the right. On the corner of University. Yep. Keep going to the north. See the baseball field? You see that square building right there next to the Cass Gymnasium?
Yep. Right there on the right, David. On the right side of the baseball field.
If you go on the street view, it should be done. But that's a chiller plant that cools half of the campus.
Kind of like how they did in Water Street with that centralized chiller plant.
Exactly.
But it looks like...
Yeah, you'd never know.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome. That's really cool.
So
that's the right way to do it. We were talking earlier about good design. People really care about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe 35 years ago, if the university came to you with that, they would have said, just build.
That would have been exposed or just metal.
Right. What do you guys attribute that to? You've been in the business a long time. Why do you think more universities, local municipalities, your own clients? I mean, you're talking about these magnificent high-end residential homes. Why is good design in now?
I think it's when you get to the price points and you start paying certain dollars for things, you start really paying attention to where my dollars are going to.
Sure.
And it's like when Michael Graves started doing the coffee thing and the teapot, and also it gets picks up.
Right.
You can buy a teapot. Everyone makes a teapot. I mean, they're a dime a dozen. But someone looked at that teapot and said, "That's a really cool teapot," and then it started picking it up, and that's where people really started paying attention. You see it in cars. You'll see
fashion's always the best example.
Yeah,
it shifts so quickly, but trends in homes are like fashion. I mean, remember gray a few years ago, and gray and white tones, and then it got softer. And
you also look at like an Apple, right? So Apple took design of that phone, right, or the iPad or the iPod originally, and then they took it a step further with the packaging, right? The way the package opened, the way the package was actually designed, the way it was shipped out. And so that story is sort of consistent all the way through the product and all the way through the operation of the product. And design was very important to Steve Jobs. And I think that kind of design culture has, as those that started out with iPods have seen, right? You're just used to things that are designed a little bit nicer, right? A Mac is just so much nicer than a Dell PC. And I don't know why Dell doesn't, match it, but they don't. They try, but they never quite get there for some reason, right?
I think a lot of it also has to do with the internet and social media and the access I have on my phone to be able to look at good design. Before you had to be in that world to get those magazines to appreciate it and to spur inspiration. But now like everyone has a Pinterest, and everyone has their favorite Instagram page.
Pinterest, Instagram. So that's a digital scrapbook too.
Everyone's kind of mind is already melding together. Yeah. Maybe that's a part of it. I don't know.
Yeah. No,
but it's good to see though, because just as like a member of the public driving around, it's kind of nice like to see the city grow. And I know it's not just happening in Tampa, but it seems like good design is improving across the board.
Yes.
Especially though here in Tampa. Look at the architecture of some of these new buildings we have. I mean, what's happened in Water Street and even like the chiller plant you're talking about at the University of Tampa. It looks great. It fits in really, really nice. It's encouraging to see. Yeah, Water Street's fantastic.
When a developer takes the time to engage an architect and go through a design process, and they're willing to spend a little bit more money, not necessarily a lot more money, the product can be, 10 times better, right? And attract, and there are some wonderful developers that we work with that get that. They know, okay, if I spend a little bit more money here, I'm going to have better tenants, better, better access. I'm going to have all of these other things that are going to drive all of this commerce to my site. And now I'm going to be able to get into the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And I think design can really, really push that forward.
Yeah, 100%. Do you think that maybe 20, 25 years ago, people were more bottom line focused and more, hey, what's the cheapest you can get? You can accomplish what we need to accomplish here.
I think so.
And now people are willing to spend a little bit more on the design.
Especially as things cost more.
Well,
Again,
right.
You're valuing your dollar. And make sure you're getting the right, the best you can for the dollar, whether it's the quality, the look of it. So you could see, when you see the difference, if you got the teapots for both the same price and one looks better than the other one, you're going to it's human nature to gravitate to the better looking.
But good design doesn't necessarily always have to be the most expensive design,
Correct.
right? We did a project for a company called Truly Original in New York. They produce like the Real Housewives shows and things like that. So they do all of that, and they didn't have a huge budget, but our concept was paint. And we did all sorts of different paint on those walls. It was different shapes and different colors, and the ceilings were different. And it was really it turned out beautiful and very unique. It wasn't like we didn't just splash paint everywhere, but that was the concept. And that thread of, well, this color is going to be a theme, and then this color is going to be an accent. That thread kind of held through the entire project, and it turned out beautiful, and it was not expensive.
So you don't necessarily have to pay for it. You just maybe have to be open to those ideas and work with your architect to figure it out together.
Good design doesn't cost a lot of money. Good design just relies on a creative individual to create the design. I mean,
Right.
that's our challenge, is designing great looking buildings that don't have to cost a tremendous amount of money, especially when you get into like affordable housing and stuff.
That's the new challenge today, right?
that
The
is the new
dirt is
challenge.
so expensive. Materials are very expensive.
Before you even get out of the ground, the numbers are hard to work.
Right.
And I do want to touch on that affordable housing thing. I think it's interesting. You're designing the spaces to accommodate prices you already know are set and at an affordable rate. Like a bedroom, hey, it's the size of a standard.
Roll of carpet.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then otherwise it takes you 2 pieces of carpet.
You're saving on materials and
you're
labor.
saving on the materials. If
Yeah.
you can design, it's like we're doing multifamily, where if we could do multifamily where all the kitchens have the units might look different, but if you look closely, all the kitchen cabinets are the same from unit to unit, all the bathrooms are the same from unit to unit. Because we're doing it because we're trying to control the cost. How can we drive the cost down for the builder or the developer to bring a good quality product to the market? Because to Christian's point, you're already fighting numbers because of the land cost. So it's our job is to try and come up with something that's truly creative. The market is looking at saying, I like that solution, but again, trying to drive the market down to make it affordable for people. The missing middle, we've done a lot of housing to where your multifamily developers, they like to, market rate housing for them is super easy. You're going to charge $3, $4, $5, whatever the heck it is. It's the missing middle where you're trying to get housing that's developed for your teachers and your policemen and the people working in restaurants, and they don't want to live in North Pasco County and drive down to Tampa. So it's trying to find those solutions that you can bring the cost of that stuff to market at a reasonable price that people can afford.
Be nice if we had a adequate public transportation system here in the city.
It would.
That'd help
It
a little
would.
bit.
Yeah.
I see a train going around,
It's going to happen. Maybe, eventually, hopefully.
Yeah. Another 10, 15, 20 years.
My fear is that affordable housing is just not going to exist. I had to buy a house last summer, way more than I would have only a few years ago. And young people that are ambitious and have decent jobs, like you said, we can't find a house for under $500,000 in Tampa. So my fear is like, well, I have a 1.5-year-old baby. When he's my age, what the hell is a house going to cost in Tampa?
Yeah, $1 million is going to look cheap.
Yeah, I bought a house in
crazy.
Dunedin. I live in Dunedin, like 2 mile from downtown Dunedin. I bought my house for $140,000. The same house next door to me sold 20 years later for 3 times that amount. And then it's to your point. It's like down the road. My son's 30. My son's the same age as you, and he's like looking at me like, did you know this was coming? Because I bought a house in Dunedin, and he's like pissed off at me. I'm like,
mad at you.
I'm like,
Mad at you.
I didn't have anything to do with this. I bought the house a long time ago. It's like, it's so much. It costs so much. I'm like,
Things change quick.
No, I know, and it's like I live on my lot's like I don't know, 80 by 110 or something like that, and the Pinellas County tells me it's worth $250.
This episode is brought to you by the official remodeler of the TBD Podcast, Kohler House Remodeling Company. Built on the belief that every homeowner deserves a premium experience, Kohler House is redefining high-end home remodeling with their commitment to integrity, craftsmanship, and quality communication. Their work speaks for itself, from condos in the towers of Channelside to 100-year-old homes in South Tampa, creating spaces that are both stunning and functional. What sets Kohler House Remodeling Company apart is their dedication to not only transforming homes into beautiful spaces, but to elevating the standard of residential general contracting. From concept to completion, every detail is handled with care, ensuring a process that's as smooth as the results are impressive. To learn more, check out our partner's website at kohlerhouse.net, KOHLERHAUS.net. I was talking to my wife, I'm like, do we even sell the house? Like, when we're ready to move, do we figure out a way to keep this piece of real estate, keep this single-family home in the family? Like, you know,
it's a challenge because I hear it all the time. I say, well, I'm going to, I got a lot of equity in my house. I'm going to sell it. But then it's like, okay, then you're going to go buy the next thing. And then what's that next thing going to cost you? Mm-hmm. And again, trying to make the numbers work.
Well, we really need more housing supply. We're undergoing a land development code update. I hope we can get some density in certain areas, promote more density, get some transportation going here in the city. That's a good solution. You can rely on architects and creative people all you want,
right?
But at the end of the day, it's going to create probably a better margin for your client, for your developer. They'll be able to get a good buyer in there and make a decent amount of money at a good price, but we're not going back to where we were 5 years ago. There's probably no scenario where that happens, unfortunately.
Yeah. Right.
So,
I mean, respectfully, it's like you're of an age where, normalcy in interest rates is 5 to 6%. You grew up experiencing 3, 2, the Fed, when 2008-9 came around, the Fed just dropped the interest rate down to 0. Mm-hmm. So you experienced that, and then you saw the interest rates get up to 2, 3, 4, and you're like, this is fantastic. Next thing you know, they go up to 7, and all of a sudden all hell breaks loose and the world's come to an end. But that's kind of in the realm of normalcy 15 years ago.
When I bought my first apartment, our interest rate was 7%. I remember my parents saying, you're never going to get a better interest rate than this. That was it was amazing.
7%.
Yeah. And now in my current house, I mean, we're at like 2.9.
Wow.
I'm on 2.5
Good for y'all.
Yeah,
I think I'm at like 6 or something like that.
No, I know.
And I had to buy down the rate too.
Right, but but the unfortunate thing is that's not going to happen. It's not going to get back down to that. I think with what's going on in the current administration and stuff, I see interest rates, dropping down by the latter part of the year, and we'll get down. The sweet spot's supposedly in that 5-6% range.
I think that's fair, and I think that makes sense. Yeah. And to be frank, if it was ever 2.95, that probably means we've taken a crap
somewhere along the way,
and we're in a bad position.
Exactly.
And prices are going to be sky high after that happens.
So the biggest challenge is just getting the public to accept the fact that, okay, this is the new normal. When you view yourself as experienced,
it's true. We're spoiled.
You're spoiled.
We are.
You didn't know. You had no idea.
No, we didn't know, and it's not our fault. Of course. But it is what it is.
Right.
Weren't interest rates like 15, 18%?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
In the 70s and 80s.
70s, 80s, yeah.
Granted, you could buy a house for $45,000.
It still was 18%.
It's all proportional.
I understand.
You're like, what the heck?
Your mortgage is $300. David's like, what? What the heck? I wanted to ask you, I saw a DSA sign on McDill, south of Gandy. Who would have thought? That neighborhood's blown up. Super exciting stuff. What's going on Ballast Point Boulevard and McDill?
I literally have.
Sorry to give you a test.
It's okay.
Do we need to pull it up on the map to show you?
I'd have to see it. I typically we have about 80 to 90 projects running through the office at any given time.
Maybe this was the wrong question for you.
No,
but I saw the sign and I thought,
me,
I gotta ask.
I gotta ask my staff. I'm like, do we have a house on the corner of such and such? And they have to tell me because we literally produce 100 permits a month for housing. That's how much housing we do.
You're the reason the whole damn city of Tampa's backed up, man. No,
Hey, it's not me.
Here, north here, David. Just we'll see if we can solve this real quick. Keep going north to Ballast Point.
Oh, I think that is
it's a commercial property.
Yeah, it's a I don't call it. It's a
Wait.
It's a doctor's office.
Oh, it is. It's medical.
Yeah, it's medical doctor's office.
I
Yeah.
was hoping for some sweet little restaurant or something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. But we moved south of Gandy, and there's so much exciting stuff happening. And when I was growing up, and maybe this is like maybe this is a South Tampa pretentious thought, but it was always like, hey, don't go south of Gandy, don't go north of Kennedy type thing. And just growing up here, I had that in my mind. But visiting south of Gandy and Ballast Point in these areas for the past few years, it's a fantastic neighborhood. It's amazing, and there's so much growth, and there's new restaurants, and it's kind of happening everywhere in Tampa. Interestingly, and really all over Florida too.
Oh yeah.
And what we're seeing too on the residential brokerage side is a lot of the people that would traditionally come from New York, from the Northeast to the East Coast of Florida, Boca, Fort Lauderdale, all these areas. Yeah. It's expensive over there. What they're used to paying 3, 4, 5, 6 for is now 8, 10, 12, and they come over here and they get a beautiful lifestyle, palm trees, beaches, right? All the same stuff.
It's expensive and it's crowded there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like going to New York City, and I'm not sure, everybody wants to do that, right? You're leaving.
It used to be the place you kind of get away from
exactly,
that, right?
Yeah.
And you grew up kind of visiting, you said, down there?
Yeah, so I went to the University of Miami for my undergraduate school, so I spent a lot of time in Florida in general. And then my parents moved to Boca and that whole area. But yeah, it's crazy there. But I grew up in New Jersey, kind of still commute to New York. I don't know quite why after looking on the cameras at my home and seeing my poor wife out there shoveling the driveway without me being home. So she liked it. That was a good workout for her.
There you go. Okay.
Oh, are you serious? Just the other day?
Yeah, 2 days ago.
Oh, jeez.
Well, you guys have had a horrible winter season, right? I mean, you've gotten a ton of snow.
We've had winters where there's nothing, and then we have winters like this where it's every few days there's snow.
Well, we don't have that here.
No, you don't.
Come on down, full time.
I'm thinking about it. Trust me.
We tease them all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure
It'll be
you
a
do.
tease meeting. Like, it's 80 degrees down here.
Another thing too, I think we have in this area that's a huge attractor is our airport is fantastic. We've got all these sports teams. Really, the Tampa Bay region has everything within about a 45-minute drive.
Yeah.
This market it's really no wonder we have the growth we have. It was kind of like the best kept secret type thing for so many years.
It's funny when we hear it during COVID and Bucks won the Super Bowl and Tom Brady's out on the boat and the whole nation's watching, and they saw that and they're watching everybody, no mask or anything like that. And all of a sudden after that, it's like everyone's light bulb went off, and all of a sudden it felt like floodgate. Everybody said
boat parade. I mean, it's like
we're all moving to Florida. Forget it.
That was an era, really. Visit Tampa Bay could have shut down for a few years, and I think we still would have had 1 million people move here now.
Yeah, we still get. I just checked, and we're still getting 1,000 people a day moving to Florida. Believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah, so I kid you not. It's every year for. I think I just looked a couple of days ago on the stats, and I think Florida's number 2 in the nation for population growth.
It's also
Next
the
to
wealthy
Texas.
individuals too.
Oh,
Interestingly,
yeah, a lot of wealth migration.
not only is it a lot of people, it's a lot of wealthy people.
Yeah.
I think Florida had the most wealthy individuals, and the way they calculate it, it's like over 250 on a tax return or whatever.
Yeah.
Second highest was Texas, but Florida is above Texas by I think at least twofold.
Oh yeah.
So it's a dramatic amount. What was it? Florida Scorecard, that website with JP from Ryan Companies we were looking at. Just incredible statistics. Like the data coming out is unbelievable. The amount of wealth coming here. Big firms too. Financial firms moving to South Florida. So I think it's here to stay.
Oh yeah.
Florida's always been a retirement state, of course. But now people are seeing it as a viable
the business opportunities here.
Exactly.
There's no state income tax. It's a lot easier to do business. It's cheaper to do business here and live here.
The job gain. So what do we have here? What's this? Business climate, legal climate, CEO rank, consumer sentiment. There's definitely a general business startup. Go back to the top. There's a general kind of consensus of it's easy to start. It's easy to manage. There's not a lot of red tape here for business. And I think that combined with a lot of our natural environment, the waters, the beaches, the lifestyle, it's a no-brainer, you know?
I'll say everyone has been extremely welcoming, right? Especially, you know, I'm always very self-conscious of, you know, I'm from New York, I'm from New Jersey, you know, you don't want to be like that guy. No, but everyone is fine. First of all, there's so many people that are from there anyway.
That's so true.
And
especially in South Florida.
yeah. And so but everyone as well. It's great to have you here. It's such a welcoming place as opposed to, you know, if we go from New York to Philadelphia, you know, they want nothing to do with us. So, you know, they kick us out immediately. So even New York to New Jersey sometimes. So
Philly's having a good time right now. I'm surprised they didn't. It was funny. They were putting up videos like, hey, win or lose, we're burning this thing down, man. Those people are crazy.
They're out of control. They fight with each other.
Go back to the top, though, David. This was really interesting. #1 business startup ranking. I'm assuming this is in the country. I don't know what else. Ranked among United States by the highest number of new business applications in a given month. #1 in the country. #1 Black-owned business with employees. #2 Hispanic. #2 women. So that combined with everything else we've talked about, I don't see this slowing down anytime soon.
No.
Which is a little discouraging, again, for the young and ambitious because it is so expensive in terms of real estate. But there's no better place for opportunity.
Yep.
You know?
It is the concern. I mean, the first half of the year we're a little bit on the even slope, but I think as the interest rates drive down, more people that are on the fence will come and start buying. And then I think you'll see, unfortunately, some of the housing pricing go up because of that, because your demand starts coming back a little bit stronger. It just, right now, I think a lot of people are just hoping and watching that the interest rates will trickle down a little bit.
Yeah, I think my fear in the growth is not adequately keeping up with housing supply. Because what happened during COVID was we had a given number of homes and pieces of real estate, commercial space available. And by the time all these people came, that flat number of supply didn't necessarily change and prices skyrocketed.
Right.
And you see the city here have challenges with the building department. It's a little bit slow to get things done and all that stuff. Boy, that's a little bit of a recipe for disaster when you have as many people as there are moving here. We can't stop the people from moving in.
Right.
We just need to be more efficient about getting some of this stuff done. On the same side of that coin, though, you don't want people building stuff that's inadequate, against the code, unsafe, etc. I'm sure they're going crazy at the city right now. Have you guys experienced, I'm sure, issues, but what's your experience
I think
been like?
the hurricanes haven't helped. You know,
Right.
we've been doing a lot of housing replacement. So I've talked to one person. I've talked to several dozen people about people that lived on a house on the barrier island that was 1,500, 2,000 square feet, had 3 feet of water. So next thing you know, they're in a whole thing of I'm building a new house. Wasn't planned for. So you're seeing that. I was talking to someone at St. Pete, and they had something like 10,000 permits that they got submitted. So I'm talking with builders doing private providers to do plan reviews, and then private providers do inspections because the city is just so inundated.
So the city's contracting with private companies
They'll
to
let
handle.
they'll let you use private providers to review drawings for permit. They'll then submit them saying we've already pre-approved it, and it makes the review process a little quicker. And then some builders and larger projects are using private providers to do inspections. Again, it's just the biggest challenge with the municipalities, they're a government. So you just can't go, we're going to need to hire 3 more people.
Yeah.
Is it in the budget? You got to get approved. You got city commissioners. Right? So the government doesn't move quickly. So you'll start seeing that's where your private industries, that whole service is being provided to help offset some of that.
Well, it's good that they're open to allowing that to happen, right? Yeah. Have you done any work with people lifting their homes? I know a company.
Ironically
in St. Pete.
enough, I'm working with some. I'm still trying to get my head around when it makes sense. You know, like I have one lady she wants to look at lifting the house. Lifting the house was like, it's probably like a 1,500 square foot house, and they want their head hell bent on lifting it. It's like $200,000 to lift it.
Yeah.
And then it's probably like another 100 and a half to finish what we're going to do on the underside. So she's hired us to do some concepts, and then this will be the first one. I met another guy that's on Victoria Lane in downtown Dunedin, lives in a 6,000 square foot 1880 house. That's all frame. That his house, I said, because he wanted to see if he could build a wall around his house to keep the water from coming in. And I'm like,
The Lord of, where does he live?
he lives in Dunedin. There's
With
a
his
road.
moat?
No, there's a road on Dunedin called Victoria Drive. It's a dirt road, and it'll always be dirt because the people that live on the street don't want people going up and down the street. So, but anyway, make a long story short, his house is 6,000 square feet. It's an 1880s house, and that's the one house. I'm like, that's a large house. It's like a $3 million house. Like that one, I could see maybe lifting up, and it's a $500,000 lift, but he's got a $3, $4, $5 million property.
Wow.
I've told several people to go against the house lifting with the older homes for a couple reasons, but the main one is you're still left with an old home.
Oh yeah.
So you're spending $2, $3, who knows, $100,000. So the challenge number one I've told a couple people is, like one example in particular, it's 2,300 square feet, built in the 1940s. Cute house, but is it cute when you lift it up?
Right.
Sometimes they look a little weird.
How do you draw and figure that out to make it look good, and then you're still left with kind of an older home versus building new,
Correct.
up to code.
I talked to a guy that had, I think the house built in like '68. In the '80s, they added a second floor addition to the house. So then he wants to lift this house that's got a second floor addition that was done in the '80s on top of a house that was built in the '60s. And then he wants to lift it, and he's like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, I'm going through the numbers, and I'm like, by the time you get done lifting it and doing the monies that you're going to spend, you go to sell your house. You got this Frankenstein of a house that you're selling. That's your house is going to be like 3,500 square feet when we're done. And I'm telling them, it's like you're going to be competing against a guy that built a 3,500 brand new house. So you got a brand new house that's up to code, and you're competing against Frankenstein thing. And it's just it says, I'm not a real estate agent, but I'm not sure what the market is for that.
It goes back to the tea kettle.
Yep.
If I'm a brand new, beautiful, modern home right next to a Frankenstein home, given the similar price range, what do you think the buyer is going to go after, right? So that's a huge conversation right now. This whole hurricane thing. I think the good news is, the construction materials, the building codes in Florida for these storms have proved themselves over the last decade and a half. I guess since Andrew is when all that really started. Yeah. Boy, they're resilient. I mean, these new homes are like fortresses for these storms, and as far as I've seen, there's really no issues with these new construction homes.
I had a client call me the day after Helene called, and he lives on the beach in Madeira Beach, right on the beach. So he calls me up. I'm like, "Navlin, how's it going?" He goes, "I just want to call and let you know my house flooded." And I said, "Okay." And I said, because I spent the night there. Everything's okay. The second floor and the third floor. This is the guy that won an award-winning design home with the metal stairs, this glass stairs. So he calls me up, and I'm like, I said, "Are you serious? You spent the night?" He goes, "Yeah, you said it was a hurricane-rated house." I'm like, "Yeah, I did, but you're on the beach." Make a long story short, he had 4 feet of water come through, and it's meant to knock over some of the walls on the first floor, which it did. He had a pool. The pool got filled up with sand.
Right, yeah.
I can't control that. He had 4 feet of sand in the street. But literally, he scraped all the sand out. He's put the walls back up, and his house is fine. But when you're designing houses for hurricanes, certain ways you're designing them for those things to occur. So I had another one that was on the beach and went fine with the hurricane. So you can do them. What we did once I heard Helene, I found out, I forget what it is, like 15,000 homes flooded in the Bay Area. And as soon as I found out, I already knew there was going to be a bunch of people that lived in a 1960s, 70s house, got flooded. Started designing some houses that were 3,000 square feet and under, that were designed to be built in a flood zone. The whole house is over garage, both floors masonry. Again, same concept on affordable, but trying to drive down costs so that can we design a product that we can bring to market that a builder can build for under $1 million.
Not only that, right? Not only building for affordability in terms of air quote smaller, 3,000 square foot's a good size house, but let's just say smaller because typically those neighborhoods have larger 5,000 square foot homes.
Correct.
But also working with government regulations to make them more affordable. Are you familiar with the property tax, state law Can you remind me what it is and tell the viewers?
The states put together a program that they'll let you rebuild your house back. It has to be elevated. Build a brand new house, but you have to be within like 10% of the square footage, and they're not going to pay the gain on the property tax.
Game changer right there.
It's
huge. If you can stay within that.
It's huge.
Because the challenge people have is, well, if we build new, now my
they'll
new
let you
value.
go. They'll lock you in for the first value, and then you'll then start paying the difference thereafter. But I started designing houses that go all the way down to like 2,400 square feet because I already knew there were going to be people that were living in a 2,000 square foot house, weren't in the market to build a new house, got flooded. Now they have to build a new house. We do all kinds of these 8,000, 5,000 square foot houses on the water. I never get a request to say, I want a 2,500 square foot on the water. No one asked for that. Well, I knew as soon as we had the floods going, everyone's going to ask for that because they don't want the 4,000. They can't afford it, don't want it. There's an older couple, whatever it is, they just need a 3-bedroom, 2-bath
They've
house.
lived there for 30 years. They don't have a mortgage. Yeah,
correct.
They're afraid to build some big new monstrosity because A, they don't want to live in that, and B, they don't want a huge property tax value.
The challenge you have is the construction cost. You're trying to design a solution that's 2,500 square feet, whatever it is, and then kind of build that for $600,000. It still costs that kind of dollars.
Right.
To get it. So it's just trying to come up with solutions that it was all masonry, both floors. So it's all, and that's where knowing what the insurance companies are asking for and trying to make sure the operating costs with the insurance and stuff. If it's all masonry, the insurance companies are going to give you a break on your insurance. I mean, you start getting into frame, your insurance cost goes up. So I know all these things. So it's designing stuff that, again, we can bring to market at a lower cost, and then the people that are living in there, their operating cost is, trying to drive it down.
So it makes so much sense because so many people want to stay.
Right.
They don't really want to move.
No.
But if they hit that FEMA 50% rule, which a lot of them do.
Right. They're building new.
Right. They're going to build new,
right.
but they don't want a huge home.
Right. Exactly.
Has that product been popular?
Yeah. I'm working with the builder now, and we're developing the product. He's probably already sold. That's when you were with Archer. Mm-hmm. Probably sold like 10 of them already.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I would imagine that's gonna be kind of the new thing moving forward with people.
Yeah. The idea is that we made an arrangement with him because I knew there was going to be a big need. I said, you're never going to build every single house.
Yeah.
And he understood. So the idea was we made an arrangement that design a product for him, but we're kind of co-copyright. So I want to be able to offer that to other clients. So if that builder can't build it and other builders want to build it, no problem. But I can have pre-engineered houses that are cost efficient to build. So I can bring to market, someone can build a house, I can offer you a set of plans, get you into permit in like a 30, 45-day cycle that has a solution that could be built for $750 or under. So that's something we've been working on and starting to.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And are you having trouble in different municipalities where one municipality can give you some sort of express permit to the customer because they're rebuilding in a flood zone and another one doesn't have that program? Because to me, that's another good solution to get people to rebuild these homes. The last thing you want to do is disincentivize people from redeveloping these properties.
Right. I think I'm not aware of any municipalities having a program like that at this point. It's just we've done so much work in the Tampa Bay area. They see our logo. They already know our name. And our permitting process, we actually challenge our staff to permit without any comments.
Wow.
So that's the goal. So, and that's where we've really made a name for ourselves in the industry. So a lot of the builders that know us, they know our name, they know the building. I've had building officials call me. I'm like thinking they got a question on the drawings. No, I just want to call you and let you know you guys do really good work. Every time I see your name, I already know I got a good set of drawings, how to deal with all the BS and stuff like that. So it's so we pride ourselves in really providing detailed drawings. So it goes a long way, especially when you're getting the permitting offices and the builders. They're super appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm sure your clients appreciate that too. Mm-hmm. Very cool. And what's next for Christian? Are you going to be down here in Tampa, the Tampa Bay area, more often?
Yeah. So the goal is to be here at least once a month for a week or more, and really, obviously build on what Andy and DSA have done before. So they're going to keep doing obviously all their residential. We're going to ask them to help with some residential in some other areas of the country where we have clients and we need that expertise. We've always sort of teetered on the edge of residential expertise, but never had it to this level. So they'll be beneficial on that. And then the goal is really to start to bring other kinds of clients and projects to the office down here. So, we do everything from restaurants, some very high-end restaurants, to let's call it like bars and chains kind of restaurants, to hotels, to cooking commissaries. We do aviation work around the country. We do healthcare around the country, life sciences. So those are all projects that obviously are all here in Tampa that we're going to start bringing some of our people down here and, engaging some clients down here and trying to grow that part of the business. It'll take a while, but we're here for the long haul.
Our portfolio has changed. I couldn't go after aviation work because we really didn't have the portfolio. And now with us being part of Mancini, we can go after aviation work. Our opportunities to gain more work are great.
Interesting. So it's not that your company was acquired and now it's this like top-down approach. Actually, it's the opposite. It's now you're able to work kind of.
That's why we're so excited, because the opportunities are so great for both sides here in the Tampa Bay market with our now expanded portfolio of abilities, and then for them up north, it's like, don't turn down any houses. Don't turn down any residential
absolutely.
work.
Yeah, which we always turn down because we're not equipped for it, right? We don't really have the expertise behind it.
And there is such a meld between northeastern people and people in Florida that it only makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. Well, listen, thank you both for doing the show today. This was great.
Great.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
All right, sounds good. All righty. Bye, everyone. See you next week. Hey guys, if you want to watch episodes just like this one, make sure to click right here to view the rest of our full episodes, and also make sure to subscribe by clicking right here. Thank you for watching.